Well, good evening and welcome to the City of Pasco workshop meeting. The council thanks you for being here. Thanks you for being a part of the city government. At workshop meetings, the council discusses issues, but no formal action is taken. Agenda packets are available at the City of Pasco's website at www.pasco-wa.gov/agenda. This meeting is also being televised live on PSC-TV channel 191 on Spectrum Cable in Pasco and Richland, and is streamed on the city's Facebook page, website, YouTube channel, and GoToWebinar. This and previous council meetings videos is available at the city's website. Lastly, the public may submit their comments and or questions by contacting the city manager, city clerk, or by using the Ask Pasco app. And with that, can we have Debbie call the roll?
Yes. Council members Barajas, Councilmember Blaisdell,
Present.
Councilmember Grimm,
Here.
Councilmember Harpster,
Present.
Councilmember Perales.
Here.
And then Mayor Pro Tem Milne,
I'm here.
and Mayor Serrano is out, I understand. Or is
Yes.
he?
Yeah, he's up. That's correct.
He is out. Okay. Thank you.
And with that, can we do the Pledge of Allegiance? Well, thank you. And going on to item number 4, we got verbal reports from council members. So did anybody do anything this last week that you'd like us to know about? Mr. Perales.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to briefly comment about the Water Rights Subcommittee. We had our second meeting last week. It was very eventful. We talked with community stakeholders and staff, and I think we're going to be coming to a conclusion with that Water Rights Subcommittee. I think myself and Councilmember Grimm are going to be meeting with the city staff and hopefully have some recommendations for the council and just some recommendations that can kind of bring this to a close. Thank you.
Well, thank you for that. I appreciate your hard work on this matter. I know this is very important to the city. And we have Councilman Grimm. Like to give us a report?
I just wanted to echo what Councilmember Perales had. We'll come to the full council with those recommendations soon. Yep, I think we have a great path forward. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you for that. Anybody else? We got Councilman Harpster.
Turn off. Friday, majority of the council attended the 2023 City Pasco Employee Appreciation Event, and just wanted to say kudos to all of you up here. And you don't really get recognized at that event, but I do believe, and I know the rest of the council, I think, agrees with me that we've got a great staff. And it was really cool seeing. One thing I noticed at that event was a lot of the departments kind of sat with each other, and I know in a lot of organizations you definitely don't see that. Not only did they sit with each other, but they seemed to all be having a really good time together. So that was great to see, and I think speaks to the culture that we have here. So thanks.
Thank you on that. And also, again, Councilman Grimm.
Sorry, one more time. I went to a couple different meetings with Councilwoman Blaisdell. We went to the Pasco Chamber of Commerce Business Roundtable meeting at the Red Lion, and we also were at the District 2 Police Listening Session there at the Hapo Center, and both of those were just interacting with the community. One was with just the business community with staff. Much of the staff was there as a whole, just looking for real solutions within the city as it regards to business. And then the other was really just about crime and, just working with the police and how can we solve some of these issues together. So both really helpful and just great to be out there with our community. Thank you.
Well, thank you for that. And yes, I was also at the thing on Friday night, and it was great to see how well it was put together. And again, I was always surprised on the different cheering that everybody did when they won a prize. And so it was just great to see the city staff be recognized for some of the hard work they do this past year. And it was great to see almost the whole council out there and get to sit with Adam Lincoln. And so it was a good time by all. So again, I really appreciate the city putting that on for our staff. So with that, let's move on to item number. Oh, I'm sorry. I cannot forget Councilwoman Barajas. So,
One last comment, not a meeting that I attended, but I do want to say kudos to our police department. Not sure, yes, you are here, Chief Roski. Kudos to our police department. Something that led from the conversations with the new redistricting. There was an issue that was brought up to me and directed that obviously to Adam, to staff accordingly, which made its way to the police department. The police department did go out there in person to the businesses that were being impacted. And I just want to say thank you very much for addressing that in person and, on a timely manner. Thank you.
well, thank you for that. And was there any, just make sure there's no other.
Hi, I just learned that Mayor Serrano is on the phone, so he's
Okay.
attending. Thank you.
So, Mayor Serrano, would you like to say anything as far as anything you did in the past week? All right, well, I guess he's not on at the moment or is muted. I guess I'll move forward then. So we have item number 5, items for discussion. And first up, we're going to have the COPA group, and we're going to have the agenda is done by Richa Sidell. And look forward to hearing what our friends at the COPA organization are up to. So take it away.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem and evening council members. Today we have a presentation by the COPA Group, who are here to share an exciting journey that began with a vision for economic development and cultural exchange between the city of Washington, or city of Pasco, and state of Colima in Mexico. In 2017, the Somos Pasco Economic Development Plan highlighted the recommendation for establishing a sister city or a cooperation agreement with a Mexican community linked to our community here in Pasco. This marked the inception of COPA, which is a group that comprises of local business leaders, governmental staff, and elected officials. And in 2019, in November of 2019, and again earlier, I apologize, I don't believe that was November, might have been October, in 2019, but also earlier in a couple of months ago in November of 2023, Pasco, a delegation from Pasco visited Colima, and our partners here are here to share the experience and the value that they got from that travel, and the value of the COPA organization to our community overall. Chair of the Economic Development Committee and the board member, Stephen McFadden, will be leading the presentation, while we have Chair Sylvia Gonzalez, Vice Chair Blanche Barajas, Committee for Health and Wellness, Carl Holder, Committee for Arts and Culture, Jose Ingleses, and a Rotary Club Committee Chair, who is our Mayor Pro Tem, David Milne, but Jose will be stepping in for his behalf, are here to join in for the presentation. Thank you.
All right, I appreciate that, and I appreciate everybody from COPA coming here, and Sylvia, and again, congratulations on your appointment, and it means a lot that you put a lot of work into our city, so please take it away.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor and Council. It's a pleasure to be here. Some of you guys know me, and for the ones who doesn't know me, I'm Sylvia Gonzalez, Chairman of the COPA Board of Directors. We're here this evening to share COPA's 2023 annual report. First, I would like to share an update on Board of Directors. Earlier this month, Gabriel Portugal, after 3 years of service, he resigned as the chairman of the board. We're grateful for his service after 3 years. The executive committee was recognized during the February board meeting as elected chairman, Mike Gonzalez, which is present. He moved from vice chair to public relations position. Blanche Barajas was elected vice chair. A little about me. I've been a resident of Pasco since 1989. I live here in Tri-Cities, raised my family here. I own my business. I maintain a dual citizenship in the U.S. and Mexico, and I'm from Colima, and I visit there often. Slide one of Copa history. Is that this one? You got it? Okay, let me. Okay. The City Friendship and Cooperation Agreement with the State of Colima, the creation of COPA are a result of the 2017 Somos Pasco study. The consultant recommended establish a relationship with Mexican community Pasco as a minority with minority city with many residents who have close ties to Mexico. As you can see, the timeline, Sterling, close ties to Mexico. I'm sorry, my vision right now, I'm just, as you can see, the timeline Sterling Committee was created, and the group visited Colima in October 2019 after a successful trip. The what is that? Inaugural. COPA board was formed. COPA. COVID had COVID was in progress, but the board decided to proceed. In the cooperation with the board, we did proceed, and the state and federal recognition as a nonprofit. This federal recognition as nonprofit. As you will hear, COPA next big event is coming up in June, and we will be joined by delegation from Colima, including 2 secretaries of government cabinet. Since the inception, COPA has been supported by the city of Pasco, Port of Pasco, several private fundraisers. We hope the city will continue to support COPA's work, and Blanche will speak about what happened next. I apologize.
Okay, so I will take over here just a little bit and just add a little bit and recap over what Sylvia has mentioned. What was it, a month ago, I was nominated, thank you, Mayor Pro Tem, and became the vice chair for the COPA Coalition. I had not been involved with the COPA since its inception, just in my capacity as a council member. So again, good evening, council. Thank you for allowing this group before you. To recap the history of COPA, I wanted to highlight the important work this organization has done so far. I want to start by pointing out the demographics I found since getting involved with this friendship agreement. I did look up under World Population Review. The population for Pasco, per this link, is 80,863 people, showing Pasco with a Hispanic population of 55.6%. Of that, at least 50% has a connection to Colima, either by birth, parents, relatives, acquaintances, business exchanges, or even temporary work. So definitely the connection is deep. While in Colima, I heard Governor Indira Vizcaíno share that 90% of the Latino Hispanic population in the Tri-Cities has a connection to Colima. She obviously has better sources than I do, so I'm going to go with that number. Full disclosure, I am not from Colima, but I was adopted as a Colimense by the governor's order via her Secretary of State, so I'm very proud of that. As you can see from the slides, we'll just progress a little bit. As you can see from the slides, Mid-year of 2022, we finally reached a signed agreement between State of Colima and City of Pasco. I, as then mayor, signed the friendship agreement at a gala. The gala where we did have, it was filled by many business owners, residents, families, and many, many more who share interest in the benefits of the exchange. The initiative of this agreement came from the City of Pasco by former Mayor Matt Watkins with collaborations from the Port of Pasco, who has assigned 2 employees for this international exchange. Many cities and states have sister city agreements or friendship agreements with places in Mexico or even across the country, other countries. COPA, or Colima Pasco, is a standalone organization, a 501c3, and acting as the administrator of the partnerships and commitments with support from sponsors, benefactors, donors, and yes, even the City of Pasco. Last week of October 2023, a delegation of 60 representatives traveled to Colima to formalize and to give start to the work plans. We were joined by former councilman and Mayor Pro Tem Irving Brown, who's in the crowd. You, Mayor Pro Tem Milne, also there as a Rotarian, thank you. The Colville tribe, who sent 30 people, and many others from across the state. As the then mayor and with former Mayor Matt Watkins present, we showed Governor Indira Vizcaíno that we are committed to the lasting partnership with Colima, its governor, the community in general, businesses in general, and the endless possibilities. The plus side to all this is that we will be generating tax dollars for Pasco. This agreement has created initiatives across all sectors such as agriculture, arts, music, scholastic and health initiatives, as well as agreements between ports. And now I will pass it on to the other collaborators to share on their assignments and progress on their collaborations.
Thank you.
Hello, council, mayor, hello. How's everybody doing today? Hope you're well.
We're doing great. Thank you
Awesome,
for showing
great to
up.
hear. You bet. So as a fellow Rotarian myself, I'm with PK Rotary. It's really been a pleasure being a Rotarian, as well with Carl Holder, who's the secretary, the treasurer of COPA. And with the leadership of David Milne as on the multi-club, there's been an initiative to continue the work of Rotary International, and as well as making sure that we continue the mission of goodwill to our international brothers and sisters. And so in this initiative, with the global grant, we're able to support some of the clinics in areas of the rural areas of Colima with equipment. I know in regards to just the grant application, David Milne headed that up. So just as a fellow Rotarian, thank you so much for your leadership and your time in supporting just the Rotary mission, and of course the support that was given to the clinics. But ultimately the grant accumulated $35,000. Where it helped in serving some of the medical equipment for some of the rural areas in Colima. And this would be just equipment that is in dire need. And it continues with that mission. Colima has a club basically called Coquimatlan Rotary. And so because of them having a club there locally, they're allowed to collaborate with our club and of course apply for these global grants. And so what's fantastic, it takes a lot of time, a lot of energy. I know just in my part, helping facilitate the translations between clubs has been awesome. And then as well as making sure that their side paperwork's all done, doing a backup follow-up. I was able to see the equipment myself in the clinics, take pictures, forward them on to David, so we can make sure they're into the application. So it's been a really cool thing to see this community support brothers and sisters in another country. And with that, if you have any questions for that.
Does anybody have any questions? And I did want to add, it is an amazing experience. The best part is it's the local community coming together to support Kalima, to support, citizens that might not have it, to be rehabilitated, to go back to work. But the best part is the city doesn't pay for nothing. I mean, there was no tax dollars in using all this. It was also just people locally giving their heart and soul to Kalima. And I guess that's what Rotarians, and that's what people we need to do, is to constantly help other people that are in need, and this is a good cause, and I was very privileged to be part of it. So I don't know if any of the other council members have any questions, or looks like Councilman Grimm has a
Yes,
question.
sir. Thank you. Thank you for your presentation, by the way. I was just going back and reading like the history of this, and it looks like it got started and then COVID put a little hiccup into it or whatever. What's kind of the long term? I mean, I see kind of what looks to be some short term goals here, but what's your vision of this in the long term?
Well, I think that's probably a question for the executive team, but I mean, one of the things for me being involved in any organization is sustainability and of course a long-term vision of economics. I mean, ultimately this partnership will have economic impacts on both sides, and especially in trade. And of course arts and culture. There is just talent. Especially me being a producer, I produce shows around the state that, especially in the Latino performance side, where Mexico just has superior talent, and they should because they're Mexicans. And I always say one of the things I love about performing internationally is when I perform in Mexico, they actually enjoy the works I do in English because they prefer that. They're like, hey, well, when you speak boleros, well, you're kind of bringing sand to the beach. So that's kind of how I go, okay, I get that. But anyhow, it's one of the things I think long term is what will benefit here this community is the economic trade value and the arts and culture.
Sure, no, appreciate that. If I can just ask one follow up. Some public might look at it and see, the port of Colima all the way down there, and Mexico, way down there on the Yucatan Peninsula,
Sure.
south of that, and they see us all the way up here. And perhaps, do you have any idea of the logistics of some kind of how that trade would actually work out?
Right. So currently, right now, there already are Colima products in grocery stores.
Mm-hmm.
So that is already beginning to happen through trucking. I think ideally what would be wonderful for the Port of Pasco is develop a trade route that would be from port to port. So that's something that I think that would benefit greatly in creating a trade route through waterways. So.
Okay. No, thank you, Sylvia. Do you have something to add?
No, we're just trying to change the.
Oh, you're good. Okay.
I'm sorry.
No, you're fine.
We have 3 minutes. And
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So from that, any other questions on
Okay,
that?
thank you.
that rotary? Yeah, no problem. But thank you for moving this along there. So on the next slide, it was arts and culture. So yes, as chairing, and a member of COPA, I'm actually not a board member. But they've made me chair of the arts and culture. But due to my experience in producing events, and of course with my family ties in Colima, so it's kind of one of the things that it allows me to produce something that is at the highest level in regards to the state of Colima. To them, the symphony is at the highest level of arts for Colima. So I also believe that to be true here, and as well as how the arts, we've been able to perform symphony works here in the city of Pasco as well, to counter that in Colima. But one of the things that we were able to do on the trip was perform at the Teatro Hidalgo. It is a historic theater there in downtown Pasco, downtown Colima. One of the aspects of doing this was, first of all, just, to be able to be in a historic building that probably is a couple hundred years old was really cool. Not only for folks like Justin Rafa, who is from this area, who got to perform along with the symphony. But that gives exactly what this exchange is about. It gives artists from this area the opportunity to go and showcase their talent in the state of Colima. Also, as well with the tribe, the Colville tribe, for them to have that opportunity to perform in Colima, for many in the tribe who were made up of family members, multi-generational, kids, mothers, fathers, to go and dance, and for us as COPA to provide that opportunity. It was the first time that many of them had even left the state of Washington. I think that right there tells the story of what this group is doing, and it will benefit especially families in arts and culture and that exchange. So this was a photo done with our counterparts in Colima, which is the Secretary Emiliano Zizumbo, who will be attending in June as well to look over aspects of the arts and culture here in Pasco. But if there is any other questions on this section, please.
We get Councilman Perales there.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, only question, I had a few. So COPA is 100% funded by private donors. So go ahead.
Yeah. It's a private foundation, right? So nonprofit. So it is funded by people, majority who are private business and folks who attend events like galas. Obviously, the city of Pasco has been supporting efforts. Like, for example, when we did the Downtown Symphony concert that was free to the public, that was supported by a sponsorship from the city as well to do here at Peanuts Park. We hope in this June, with the request that was done last year at a workshop, that we can get that support as well to bring the Mid-Columbia Master Singers and the Mid-Columbia Symphony to downtown Pasco as well, with a request of $15,000 that was done.
I mean, so basically, I could kind of also answer this, that for the money, I mean, the city's not going to be able to put on a symphony, get star
Correct.
singers all over the world to come down and sing in Pasco for $15,000. So we were just one of part of people that sponsor it. We had other sponsors. So it's a small investment by the city, but it's a huge reward for our community. I mean, how often can you go to the symphony and at no cost, and then especially in downtown Pasco to highlight our spectacular Peanuts, plaza. So I really applaud all your efforts, and again, thanks for the question. But again, Pasco's a small part as far as the financial
Correct.
piece of it.
Yeah.
It's the community at large that are putting together their money and other businesses that are supporting it. That really is where the economic driver is, and the citizens of Pasco are really the ones that benefit from this big time. So I don't know if that really answers your question, but I'm just trying to clarify more on the financial
I
aspect.
appreciate it. No, sort of. No, I was just wondering if COPA was going to be asking for a certain allotment. We're in a budget year, but I was just wondering if there was a certain amount of money that COPA was going to be asking for,
Yes.
or helping sponsoring. That's all. It's been
Correct.
top of mind among other things currently of being asked for money and stuff. So I was just kind of wondering about that.
Sure, it's the same ask. We came to the council last year with a presentation for this event that is occurring at the end of June. And it's the same request. It's $15,000 for infrastructure, to make sure that we get the Mid-Columbia Ballet, Mid-Columbia Symphony, and Mid-Columbia Masters singers paid. And so, as you know, these are all local musicians, comprised of many of them in Pasco, but also the Tri-Cities area. So.
Thank you, and I can honestly say, being on other boards like national boards, I can honestly say 15,000 is,
Yeah.
I mean, it's a lot of money, but it's still a very small piece compared to when you try to put stuff on. And sometimes on my other organizations that I'm part of, I'm always shocked on the prices where it's $200,000 to have Willie Nelson's son come and sing at an event, and you're like, holy crap! And then there's all the other stuff associated with it. So I just want to applaud everybody that gives their time, gives their their vocals, and they're doing it on the cheap. So just thank you so much, and I really appreciate all the hard work.
Thank you. And there's other partners, there's, ArtsWA is a partner. There's other organizations, arts organizations that are partnering in this. I think ultimately, arts and culture is a big aspect. I work with symphonies because, there's a saying, symphony is community. You're talking about teachers, students, parents performing all together. That's what happens at a symphony. So I really believe that, and that's why I'm glad that, we appreciate your support for that.
Well, yeah, my support. I'll definitely work on the council, and thanks for this presentation. So we got Stephen McFadden here.
Take it on the next slide. Thank you.
Thank you.
Before I talk about economic development, I just want to point out, in case you didn't know, that Jose Enriquez is the executive director of Encanto Arts, which is a private nonprofit based in Seattle that specializes in delivering the arts to underserved and unserved communities. And we would not be as successful in arts and culture if we didn't have the horsepower of one of Seattle's top 25 most influential citizens. And so I just want to thank him for that. He's made a big lift on behalf of the dream of COPA, which started with the city of Pasco trying to make a connection in its community. I believe you had a question about economic development and what's next. So when I first got in this business, before I worked at the Port of Pasco as the director of economic development, my mentor said, economic development is not a sprint, it's a marathon. And I promise you that this COPA relationship is going to need a marathon, because you're talking about international trade, which is not as simple as moving freight from Pasco to the Northwest Seaport Alliance in Seattle. But we've had great success. And I did give you the notes for what we did while we were in Colima. I'd like to talk about the goals and objectives going forward. So in June, when we host the symphony performance and we have a delegation come from Colima, we will welcome Carlos Rocha, the Director General of Economic Development, and he will be bringing the Executive Director of the Colima Chamber of Commerce and a couple of other business association leaders, so that we can sit down and begin to have a conversation about what businesses in Colima want to do business in Pasco. Who has product in Colima that we can put in our stores to provide those products to our residents, and to also continue to promote through trade an actual sister city style relationship. Additionally, we're going to talk about how to move Tri-Cities wine into restaurants and stores and hotels in Colima. I mentioned that trade piece. It's very difficult for a winery in Washington State to make a profitable transaction by exporting wine to another country. Some of them here do that, and some of them have committed already to do a pilot project with Colima, which will give us an opportunity to start most likely at a break even or a loss just for the initial test period. Also, we need a streamlined model for import export. We'd like to create a pipeline specific to Colima and Pasco. One of the ways that we'll do that, the Port of Manzanillo is the single largest port in the entire country of Mexico. It moves freight via its shipping terminals to 36 countries in the world. They do not deliver to Washington State. They currently deliver to Long Beach in California. We're going to broker the conversation via the Port of Pasco for them to meet with the Northwest Seaport Alliance, which is the Port of Seattle and the Port of Tacoma. We'd like to see freight coming from Colima direct to our port. If not, it'll have to go to the Port of Long Beach and then come here by truck. But that's still a more affordable method than having it come all the way by truck. We have a great desire to see workforce development occur. We have a lot of citizens here that would benefit from advanced workforce training. Colima has a lot of citizens who would benefit from workforce training. And we have a number of universities and trade schools between the two regions that we can work on doing that specialized training, and also develop exchanges for instructors. Part of that falls under the education committee's role, but we have a specific role with making sure that we fill jobs in the Tri-Cities. When you think of economic development, Colima has the same challenge in its home state. We'd also eventually like to see, as the downtown Pasco area is redeveloped and vibrant. We would like to add a Colima-centric retail store. We'd like to see a store that specializes in offering products made or grown or manufactured in Colima in a retail storefront in downtown Pasco, so that anyone that comes to visit, whether they're from Colima or they're from Pasco or they're a tourist, they would have an opportunity to take something home from Colima and know that this community has a direct tie to Colima. Increased tourism between Colima and Pasco with an emphasis on wine tourism, outdoor recreation, wellness, and sport fishing. I've had the opportunity to be in Colima for 6 days. I can tell you that sport fishing is big business out of the Port of Manzanillo. It's a great opportunity for those of us here who are avid anglers. We have great wine tourism here. And by the way, if I have my way, we'll be successful at the port being able to get air service into Dallas-Fort Worth at some point in our future to the Tri-Cities Airport. That would provide direct transfers to Guadalajara, which connects the community of Colima to Pasco even more. And lastly, I mentioned the Seaport Alliance. So there's a lot to do. There's a lot of work to do. And I think that each of the community members and the board of COPA have been working to try to achieve what was a goal of the Somos Pasco study, which was meant to help bring this community together. And the city of Pasco and the steering committee that was formed supported the creation of COPA as the city's private nonprofit partner. Ruben?
Did anybody have any questions for McFadden? If you don't mind coming back up here real quick.
Yeah, it was just more of like a comment. Yeah, I just wanted to thread a needle. Yeah, no, I was just asking about how COPA was funded and see where our support was, just because, you know, a lot of the stuff that I read was great, was good stuff, and it's all about return on investment. And, you know, if we're not investing a lot of money, perhaps increase that, because a lot of things that Mr. McFadden was talking about are things that we should be doing. And if it's a monetary thing, he understands, we all understand, sometimes it's about resources, money, to kind of start brokering those relationships. So no, I think, I was just kind of figuring out how COPA was funded and stuff like that. And
So there is the financial report for the 2023 summary at the tail end of this presentation. But essentially, the entire trip to Colima, each individual traveler paid their way, or in the case of city council members supported by the city, port staff, my colleague, Myra Reyna, who's the director of properties, is the co-chair of the Economic Development Committee. We were sent on behalf of the port, but 30 members of the Colville tribe, the Colvilles picked up the tab for the cost to get them there. So we're operating on a shoestring. We have no paid staff. We're doing this as slow and methodical as possible without coming to you at a time that you're really scrutinizing your budget to ask for a substantial amount of money to operate. When you think about the concert that's coming in Peanuts Park, your $15,000 investment will be partnered with the port's $3,000 investment and about $35,000 worth of private money to make that entire event happen. And the idea is that the public agencies provide the seed money to get us off the ground. And we try not to be greedy about that, and we're grateful for it. But at some point, in order for us to do trade and to cover the cost of doing import-export, we're going to have new sources of revenue. And because we are a nonprofit, one of those potential options is seeking grant funding from the Washington State Department of Commerce.
And I can also say, when we went down to Colima, we flew Volaris. If you've ever flown Volaris, oh, you know this is an inexpensive airline when your knees are hurting from hitting the seat in front of you. And
They did not design those airplane seats for 6-footers.
no. So it was definitely on the cheap, trying to make a little bit of profit so they could put back in their coffers. And again, I know they kept the cost down, plus people paying their own way, and it was definitely a group and community effort being
Sure.
down there, and it was a good time.
We really don't want to keep you much longer, but we would like the Education Committee and the Health and Wellness Committee to have an opportunity to talk about their work as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, council members. Hi, Melissa. Yeah, Volaris. They don't turn on the AC until they're about to take off, really. While you're waiting there at the tarmac, you're just like boiling. So my name is Ruben Peralta. I chair the Education Committee. And I am a Pasco resident since 1978, other than 10 years in Portland, Vancouver, and 2 years in Pullman, WSU. Other than that, Pasco, I've lived in Pasco, and when I live away, Pasco is home. I was actually born in Colima. When we got here in '78, there were very few Latinos here, mostly Mexican, and mostly from Colima. Surprise, surprise. And my family pretty much knew everyone. It's like everyone from my parents' village in Colima, they just ran into each other here. My mom ran into very many childhood friends here. So you can say that my family is responsible for the 50% of the Latinos here having some connection to Colima. So I remember people showing up to Pasco, and they had my mom's phone number, and she would get the call, and it's like, well, let's get you set up. Let's find you a job. Let's get you a place to live, or you can stay with us while you find a place to live yourself. So about the education committee, we had a meeting in Colima at the headquarters, at the state headquarters of the Education and Culture Department, chaired by the gentleman there in white, Adolfo Nunez Gonzalez, and who we are expecting here. We expect to host them here in June, and I just hope that we can be as good hosts as they were to us. So what we have here are areas that we're exploring with our counterparts in Colima. These are things that at some point we're going to take to the leaders of the Pasco School District, which WSU, the WSU president and CVC president, they're all aware of these efforts. They know that we're trying to put this together. We are refining the areas of we want to explore in the exchange, and I'm going to summarize here. But yeah, we have been talking about different areas of education. One, like short-term language immersion programs for teachers, an exchange in language immersion with the University of Colima. We also talked about developing credit sharing and transfer programs with between Colima and universities in Colima and here. Also work with the Mexican Council. It seems to have a program with teacher exchange programs, and also the one that I'm the most excited about is the potential of Colima being a supplier of teachers for the dual language program. As you know, that program, Pasco has been a pioneer in dual language teaching, and the state is in the process of adopting that program throughout the state. So I know already that there is a shortage of teachers that can teach dual language. So that's another area to explore. We're also looking at STEP collaboration with Universidad Tecnológica de Manzanillo, Technological University of Manzanillo. And also we explored some areas in health education with the health department there in Manzanillo. So one of the things that we're talking about health education is it's language translation, language, some overall areas in mental health, for example. We have Spanish monolingual patients here in mental health. I know of an organization in Spokane that's using Mexican therapists to do online mental therapy. So that's an area that we discussed as well in health education also. So I'll be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Does any of the council have any questions? Well, it looks like none. I will say that as a former exchange student myself, and we're actually hosting an Italian exchange student, Ricardo. I could say that it's great when you do these exchanges in the school district or in college, where you actually learn about a culture, whether you stay in Pasco or not. But it's just a great thing to learn about other cultures and learn about different ways that people make stuff and do stuff. And so it's I really applaud the efforts that you're doing with the Pasco School District, and anything that we could do to combine our sister city or sister state into this whole program is amazing. And again, I appreciate your hard work on this. So thank you.
Thank you.
There you go.
All right.
Greetings, Carl Holder. I'm chair of the Health and Wellness Committee at COPA. I've been on several of the missions to Colima, not only from the city of Pasco, but also from the Rotary clubs. And so we represented the COPA with the Secretary of Health. And I'll point to the picture. You have, Carl and Ruben, Urania, Emma was there from the Culture Committee, and Jose Iniguez. On the right hand seated, you have two members of the Coquimont Lawn Rotary Club, so we're cross-pollinating. And Doctora Janeth, the secretary, she's there in the middle. And one of the things that we want to accomplish with health and wellness is that we find that this education component is really important. For them to come here and for us to go there to develop an educational program with them. We're also trying to establish an exchange of equipment. We have an excess of equipment here locally, not only from the local hospitals, and actually the fire department has excess equipment. The difficulty, of course, is actually transportation, which we're trying to accomplish. But anyway, we're moving forward. I had a great visit, and the Dr. Janet, the secretary, she'll be here in June to further these conversations. Anything else?
Thank you, Carl. Anybody have any questions for Mr. Holder? I think we're good. Thank you.
Charlie, you might not want to go too far. So I wanted to leave some extra pictures that we couldn't weave in to those reports. I'd like to point to the Pasco booth that you see there. That booth was a joint project of the city of Pasco and COPA. We jointly funded that. And that booth was on display for the entire run of the Colima State Fair. And they had a great dedication ceremony. You can see down there at the bottom with the ribbon cutting. They brought media from all over the state of Colima. The place was flooded with publicity. One of the Colville dancers is at the sacred pyramids in Colima, and they had that opportunity to meet there privately with an indigenous tribe from the Colima area. So there was a lot of great moments. That's Indira, the governor, there in the middle on the top, standing next to Blanche, welcoming all of us, 60 of us, to the governor's palace for a sit-down meal and a banquet. And she honored several different individuals, including then Mayor Barajas, Patrick Tenasket, who's a tribal council member for the Colville Nation, etc. And then this, because this is an annual report, we wanted to give you the revenue and expense report for 2023. And as you can see, there's really not a lot of fluff here. And we were able to save quite a bit of money by Jose serving as the travel agent to do 100% of the booking process to get 60 of us to Mexico. And those savings are reflected in our ending fund balance because we were able to get breaks on airfare and breaks on rooms and breaks on meals and breaks on bus trips to get 60 of us. So the Colvilles had their own bus and everybody else had their own bus. And it's a lot of logistics to move that many people. But if you have any additional questions for us.
Yeah. Does anybody have Mr. Harp or Councilman Harpster?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. McFadden, for that presentation. If you go back one slide to the revenues, the Colima travel package fees, what is that? I understand the other three; those are self-explanatory enough. But what made up that?
Jose may
Those
want to help me
revenues.
here, but at the front end of preparing to sell tickets to those who were going to travel, the overall package was going to run about $94,000. And as we were getting into Colima, we began to realize some savings, which allow COPA to retain some additional funds. So meals were cheaper. Alaska airfare, they gave us a deal because we're putting 60 people on the
I
same
see.
plane.
Thanks. That was the only question I had. I just wanted to comment. Thanks to all of you for your volunteer involvement in this organization. And I think Mr. Inigo is, and I apologize if I mispronounced that, but I think when you were here a couple months ago, you shared this quote, but I'll share it anyways. Our founding father of this country said that to encourage literature and the arts is a duty which every good citizen owes to his country. And so I think for the city of Pasco to contribute $15,000 in comparison to our enormous budget is something that I'm happy to support this organization with. So thanks again for your presentation and involvement.
Thank you for that. And for those of you who are new to council, we wanted to leave something with you that we had shared with the previous council. And we brought a few small items that are samples of life in Colima for each of you.
And I will say the salt is amazing down there, so.
Colima is famous for its salt flour, which is salt that actually floats across the top of seawater. It is captured, and it is the lowest sodium salt in the world. It's also very fragile. It's not crystalline like what you put in your salt shaker. So when you grab it to spread it, it really turns to dust. And thank you again for this opportunity. The medallion that you're receiving is the medallion that we presented to every state official and every host that we met while we were in Colima. And we had shared those medallions with the previous council as well. So we thought you might like to have one.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Mr. McFadden. I do appreciate it. Are we done or are we moving on? Okay. Well, thank you. And we are moving on. So, looks like we go to section, or number B, resolution, purchase of Arizona Pool Air Dome System. And we got the Director of Fun, Director Rice there. So please take it away.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem and Council. Yes, this evening I have two presentations for you. The first one is the purchase of an air dome structure or cover for a memorial pool. I put quite a bit of information into this presentation because it's been a long-going process since 2018, so I'll move through this. I know you have the information. If you'd like to stop and ask any questions or have me go back, feel free to do so. But Memorial Pool, located over Memorial Park across from the library, off of Shoshone and 14th Avenue. Our current facility, which was remodeled in 2009-2010 period, or updated and remodeled, 50-meter lap pool, pool house, parking lot, spray pad, 2 water slides, 2 shade shelters, umbrellas, bleachers. Probably the best outdoor facility that we currently have in the Tri-Cities, if I say so myself. Supports many options, including our swim team, which is our Channel Cats, our recreational swim league, and our high school swim teams. And then, of course, for the public, we have swim lessons and open swim and adult lap swim, special events. We do lifeguard training, rentals, and group use. Generally, those are May through August during the summer when the pool is open and functioning. Due to the seasonal constraint, that May through August or May through September, we have limited availability for seasonal pool activities. Currently the only indoor pool in Pasco is at LifeQuest, and it's only a 20-yard in length. And then we do have some other options in Kennewick and Richland, including the Pacific Clinic, Columbia Basin Rec Club, Kia Ora. High school swim team boys, they do winter season at Kia Ora and Kennewick. Again, it's only a 20-yard pool, only 4 lanes. And then Kennewick schools do not have a boys swim team due to part and available facilities. Again, it's more seasonal constraints. Hosting competitions, we have 50-meter swim competitions in the summer. Yes, we can do those. We can do girls' season dive competitions. Unable to do boys' season dive competitions. We do not have a 25-yard swim competition anytime. And again, swim lessons, open swim are limited to only during the summer season. Back in about 2018, the community identified the need to have some additional indoor swim seasons. It was proposed to put a temporary or removable settable air structure, air dome over the pool. It would be used for Pasco High School boys and girls swim teams, Chiawana boys and girls swim teams, of course, high school number 3 and Tri-City Channel Cats for sure. And then we have at other schools, Kennewick High School and Richland High School also have interest in using the pool when it's in the covered state. And then aside from swim team use, we've explored other opportunities that we could also offer, including scuba diving lessons, new community leagues like indoor water polo, inner tube water polo, paddleboard yoga, year-round swim lessons, classes, and then special events, similar to other special events we do, but like dive-in movies, New Year's Eve splashes, things like that. So kind of the next step of this process would be the procurement of the Memorial Pool Dome. And what's included in that is the actual dome, the air structure, which here's kind of a picture on the screen of what that would look like. It's an inflatable air structure. It maintains pressure, includes HVAC system to maintain heating throughout the winter, support generator to ensure the dome stays inflated if we lose power. We'd be looking to have that primarily installed September to May. Again, during winter, we take it off during summer so we can support both activities in the pools. The initial cost for the pool dome with delivery is $547,000 with a 7-month delivery time, which is why I'm coming to you now so that we could potentially have this in place by October of this year. We've kind of planned for Octobers of several past years as well, so I'd really like to hit this milestone. It does have a life expectancy of 20 years, which is prorated on warranty material, but again, we'll be only using it, about half a year, so we expect a longer life cycle through that. When it's not being used, it'll be packed back down, stored, and then reset up in the following season. This is a multi-step project, which we've done some of those already, including we've updated our chlorine system to be a saltwater generator system. That was done last year. We did our pool heater replacement. And we're currently working on architect design for the pool dome footing. So the pool dome comes, it's about 38 feet tall, 200 feet long, so it needs to be pretty well secured, adequately strapped to the ground. That comes in with a foundation or footing. So that would be the next part of this process upon approval of the purchase of the pool dome, would be to get the designer set up, which Interim Director Maria Serra is helping with currently. And it looks like that footing price will be about $350,000. Additional parts of the project are what we call a bulkhead pool divider, which is really a floating lane divider that gives us more options to split that pool in half to do 25-yard, 25-meter sessions or double practices during that. And that's kind of pictured in the upper right if you're looking for what that is. And then we need to do some other upgrades. Otherwise, it'll be really cold in the pool house, including some HVAC and insulation to be able to keep that heated during the winter, because as it's designed now, it's a summer season pool. And then depending on the balance of funding, again, that's between the purchase of the dome, the concrete footing, the bulkhead divider. There should be some additional funding balance for fencing replacement to update the fencing, perhaps add a playground structure so that younger kids, when we're having swim meets, have somewhere to play. We'd like to update reader board sign to advertise to the community what events are going on, and then parking lot and front entrance that could also use some updates since it's been since 2010. So this evening, I'm seeking your authorization to purchase the actual pool dome and get it coming under manufacture. So again, potential delivery by October, which is the same time we're hoping to have the concrete footing installed by. And that purchase would be made by a purchasing cooperative, which is one of the preferred methods when we purchase items because all the background work is done to meet all our purchasing requirements. In the near future, coming back for approval of the bulkhead pool divider purchase and also the footing construction project award. So I guess with that, is there any questions? Anything I can explain further this evening?
Well, it looks like we do have a few questions, so let's start off with Councilman Harpster.
Thanks, Director Rice, for that presentation. I'm definitely in favor of this, although I never learned how to swim and still don't know how.
Well, you'll have to do
Um,
that during the winter months now too, so.
No, thank you.
covered.
Just one question. The other teams expressed interest, Kennewick and Richland High. Would we rent the facility to them, or would they just kind of use it?
Yeah, essentially, under our current arrangement would be similar what we're planning with, our current arrangement with Pasco School District is, yes, they pay a weekly rental fee.
Okay.
And we expect that to be followed through with the other schools, if interested.
Thank you.
Thank you. And now we have Councilman Grimm.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Director Rice, I just wanted to ask about damage, tearing it down and putting it back up. There's an old saying that 3 moves is the equivalent of 1 fire on your stuff. And, I just, is this thing built to take up and put
Yes.
back down, et cetera, et cetera?
Yeah, they're designed in 2 methods. They're designed in a permanent model, which I may hit you up in A Street Soccer in a couple years. Also designed in a removable model. So their company actually comes out each year to help us show us how to set that up. They supervise the takedown, help us pack it back up, and put it on the original pallets and shipping containers that came in. So it's definitely designed to go up and down. And then once it's removed, the footing attachment material comes off the pool deck again. And once again, it's a smooth deck for the summer season.
Okay, no, thank you for that. Also, and I don't want to put any thoughts in anybody's mind, but concerns about vandalism. I think about my devious nature as a kid seeing this big blown up thing and,
So you're my first suspect, is that what I'm hearing?
yeah,
I just want to clarify now,
you might
Chief
as well.
Roski.
But,
Yeah, that is a potential. That's however a potential with any of our facilities. Obviously, we do care insurance coverage, so that we would have a deductible to replace should that happen. But it is a fairly rigid material that could happen to any of our buildings at any time.
No, I appreciate that. And I guess, the other thing I'm just thinking from the public's perspective that they may raise is, goodness, we just, passed this, bond or, tax increase for, the water park in West Pasco, the big deal out there. But I realize how this is different, how, that's still a couple years away.
Yes.
And how, there's a need for this in East Pasco too. So.
Definitely, yeah, and I think minimally you're looking at between 5 and 10 years before there'd be a competitive swim pool area added to the aquatic center. We started this in 2018, so we basically have been through 2 high school swim careers and the potential to go through 2 more high school swim careers before that project's ready to go. So I think this is just a great community support, and this can continue running as well. We hope to plan, related activities or have both facilities in operation so they're not competing with one another, but best serving the public for both.
Okay, cool. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you. And now we go to Councilman Prowse.
Thank you, Mayor. Hey, I just had a few questions. So I saw that there's going to be some future costs. So it's going to cost money to take it down every year. So we're going to have to start putting that in our budget
Yes.
every year, and that's around $15,000 to $20,000 roughly.
Basically, yeah, with having the person come out and supervise plus our own staff time, we kind of account for that in there. But we also hope those costs would be offset from swim team use, either Pasco School District or other community school districts would help offset those costs through the rentals of those.
And so where is this being stored at?
Currently, it stores in approximately 6 pallets worth of size, and they've actually said it can be stored in the small compound right outside the pool that we have. So there's kind of an offset gate.
Okay.
If not, we can also be stored in a Connex or something similar. So let me get to our map here. Almost. We should be the Kalima anytime now. Yeah, so just on the top portion, the top just to the left of the pool house, you'll see we kind of have a fenced-in compound in there, which is our initial storage spot that we're anticipating on using.
I was trying to look for some like structural aspects of it. I mean, how is this good with? Is this a dome good with snow? Because there's
Yes.
times we have snow and
Yeah, it's designed. It came with an engineering set of plans, which we have been working with engineering review as
Okay.
well as our building department. That's kind of part of the generator system as well. That the integrity of the structure is based on the maintaining inflation. So as it's maintained, it'll shed the snow, the wind, the water loads. If we lose power, the generator will take over to ensure that it maintains inflation. And there is also a safety system inside, which will let it collapse down on the lighting poles if need be.
okay. Those are all my questions. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, appreciate that. And now we have Councilwoman Rojas.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. I know we saw this last year. You did let us know that it was coming our way, that you're gonna have this presentation. So I do appreciate that it's finally here. I'm in support of this. And this is the reason why. I was invited to a summer swim meet. All around the pool were 10 by 10 canopies, with families, with teachers, coaches, the kids. This is a pool that is very well utilized. However, in the winter, when there's those other meets, swim meets, we don't host them because we don't have the facility. We don't have the means for kids to swim safely. And so, this is a great idea. I appreciate that you finally brought it over, and I'm in an approval of this. I have one question though, and this is a community question. Is there a potential of incorporating paths to where there's food trucks around when we have all these meets?
I think that is a potential, and I think that's something Director Gonzalez is probably going to approach tonight in his downtown presentation, where we are working on mobile vendor code that would potentially allow food trucks. We currently have a mini pad inside that Kona Ice has used for multiple years, so we do have Kona Ice mini truck inside, which is very popular. But yeah, I believe we'll let Director Gonzalez update us on that code, and then of course I'll be willing to take those to any of my facilities once you guys are good with that code.
Thank you. Perfect. Sounds good. Thank you so much. No additional questions.
Thank you. And
Mayor Pro Tem.
oh, sorry that Mayor Serrano.
Yeah,
You have a
hey, I
question?
think technology finally worked. I'll be brief. I am in support of this. I've had a lot of members of the community who've asked for something like this, especially to the point that was made earlier, knowing that the water park is several years off. Hopping back to the last presentation, while I have supported and continue to support the Colima effort, I find it I guess interesting or almost concerning that we're not really interested as a council in contemplating the beauty of the bridge lighting at a one-time cost that might be 2 years' cost of Colima, which could beautify our cities and our city. Yet the arts and culture may win over. I just want to express that concern that we may want to look at whether or not the right sizing of the budget for things that aren't specific to facilities or safety concerns like police and fire. We as a council may want to set a priority here and determine which is the best use of these ancillary monies.
Thank you for that comment, and I'm sure that will be addressed at our council retreat. And but appreciate that. Was there anything else?
Nothing from me, thank you.
All right. Well, thank you for that. And I'd like to say that my kids swam in there when they were young at the Boys and Girls Club, and I know I've heard about this for years with the community, and I'm really looking forward that you're able to get this on the works, and I'm supportive of it as well, and look forward to seeing this come to fruition. So thank you for the effort on this. So thanks.
All right, very good. So consent next week?
I'm fine with that.
All right, very good. Thank you. Just want to wrap it up. I'm here.
All right. So moving forward, we have again, Director Rice. We have the ordinance, and I guess we basically covered that as well. The item C there, or is this something for different?
No,
Oh,
this
I'm
is-
sorry. I'm
yeah.
reading the wrong thing.
Yep, item C, so yeah,
So item
something
C,
different
yes.
but less expensive, if that gets you excited. So, yes, so this presentation is on our A Street Sports Complex. Again, a little bit of history in this slide, in this slide as well, because this has been an ongoing project. A Street facility is located over on South M and East A Street. It's meant to be a multi-sports complex that has been constructed in phases. First phase was completed just here at the end of December, which included 3 multi-sports fields, our ADA path, we also extended South Elm Street so it could be accessible. And that complex is currently set to open to the public September 1st after we give the summer grass growing season a chance to set in and take effect there. So that total project cost is $1.6 million, which included $350,000 from a state grant. And here you see the empty field as it was, and where we're stationed with it right now. So So today I'm talking, here to discuss with you installing some lighting on those fields. LED lighting to be specific. And it's lighting that we received a grant for last year, $100,000 in kind from Musco Sports, to offset the cost of that lighting. The total cost of the lighting, $304,000 would come from our Community Park Development Fund. These lights would be purchased through our purchasing cooperative, and we'd have a projected completion date by May 31st. And then just to address the other things, so A Street Soccer has 2 additional phases planned. Next, phase 2 would add additional sports fields, as you see it at the left of the screen, playground, expanded parking lot, and then restroom concession building. And then a future phase 3, again, would add, purchase some more land, add some more sports fields, bleachers, additional lighted fields, and then our food truck pads and shelters. And then, as I kind of pitched you earlier, phase 4, and again, these are several years out, so you have time to brace for all these millions I'm throwing at you, would be to potentially cover one or several of these fields with another air dome similar to what we purchased to make it a year-round system. So back to the lighting again, that would light up one field, 4 lights in the corners. And what we found is that while the fields are great during the day, most students are in school or most adult players are working. So the lighting is going to super expand the availability and access to those fields, which is generally why we're asking to do that. So here I'm asking for 2 things tonight. One would be the approval to purchase the lighting from the Musco Cooperative, including using the $100,000 grant they provided. And then the second, because we got this grant and we hadn't put it in our 23-24 budget, I'm also asking council for approval to amend our budget to allow us to expend funds from our Community Park District Fund. Our Community Park District Fund is a fund that covers all of the city that's made up of park impact fees. About 10% of the fees go into that. And we generally try to use the Community Park District Fund for sporting complexes versus parks, because we feel sporting complexes serve the entire community versus the neighborhood park funds, which serve specific neighborhood regions that those funds are applied to. So that one I went a little quicker on. So any questions or any more information I can provide for that?
Does any of the council have any questions for Director Rice? I don't know who was first, but we'll go with Councilman Perales.
Okay, no, I was just gonna say, totally in support of this. We need more soccer fields. I was concerned years ago when we took out some soccer fields for a much needed housing development, but these are great investments, and so just wanna let you know I'm in total support of this.
Thank you.
Thank you. And Councilman Grimm?
Thank you, Director Rice. I also think this is a great direction for us to go in. So I'm seeing though that we did 3 fields, but this light is just gonna light one of those fields, correct?
It's 4 total lights in the corners of the fields, but yes, it'll produce a lit field plus the afterglow will light up the surrounding area.
Perfect. Thank you.
All right. Any other questions? Well, I think we could put that on the agenda as well.
All right, very good. Thank you for your time this evening.
Thank you. So with moving right along, we go to item D, Downtown Public Space Code with Director Gonzalez.
Good evening, members of council. The presentation tonight is intended to provide council with a reintroduction to an item that we brought to council initially in the fall of last year with the idea of improving opportunities for uses of the public spaces, particularly in our downtown area, related to outdoor dining, streeteries, parklets, as well as taking a look at refreshing the regulatory environment for mobile vending and mobile vendors, as a lot of our food trucks and food carts. The intent of this effort was to take a look at how to activate the traditional right-of-way, and during these discussions, we've also taken a look at how to expand opportunities for businesses and private enterprises outside of the traditional downtown area as well. Tonight, we have a presentation from our consultant team at Framework, who is online, and I believe ready to provide council with an update of where we're at with this effort to date.
All right. Thank you for that, and let's get this ball rolling.
Hi, thanks, Jacob. Let's see. I'm going to share my screen. Let's see. I don't think that gave me what I wanted.
I think worst case, hope we can also navigate the slides on our end as well.
It looks like I'm able to share. I'm just, it's not, okay, there we go. All right, there we go. Can you see my slides now?
Yes.
Great. Always fun to start a presentation that way. Thank you, Jacob, for the introduction. I'm Hope Farigi. I'm with Consultant Framework. I'm an urban designer and planner, and I've had the pleasure of working on the implementation of Pasco's downtown plan. As many of you know, this plan was adopted January 3rd, and some of the goals, the four main goals, were to produce a lively and authentic downtown, a district showcasing history, new connections to the river, and a place for all ages to live and enjoy. I'm going to go through this kind of fast because I have a lot of slides, so feel free to stop me for questions, or I will pause for questions at a few points. So in addition to the goals, the plan outlines strategies and action items. One of the strategies is active and safe streets and places for all. One of the action items being activity and mobility, basically streets that are designed for pedestrians, that are pleasant for pedestrians to move through, that encourage people to walk downtown. Another action item being a parklet program, and then the strategy of substantial private sector development and investment, with the action item of updating codes for an active downtown. So the two main things I'm talking about today are parklet street cafes and sidewalk cafes, and then mobile vending. Sidewalk cafes are already allowed within Pasco's code, so this will be kind of adding design guidelines for that and sort of making the code easier to use and understand, and then adding in the parklets and street cafe use. And mobile vending is also currently allowed within Pasco code, but the code is prohibitive, and so this effort is meant to make that code easier to use and less prohibitive to mobile vendors. And the goal is to encourage more activity downtown, to make these programs more accessible, to set clear guidelines, to ensure that all of the above is done safely and that it reflects the goals of the downtown plan, and to create a process that works for the city so it's not too burdensome to implement. Okay, so first I'm going to talk about parklets, street cafes, and sidewalk cafes. Within the definitions as they're currently written, a parklet is the use of an on-street parking space by the city as a public space amenity. So it would be initiated by the city and operate much like a park, but it just, you know, the use of a parking space. A street cafe is also in a parking space, but it is done by a restaurant, cafe, or bar that has an adjacent business frontage. And then a sidewalk cafe is the use of the sidewalk. And so the idea with these strategies is that they're relatively low impact and that they're using underutilized space within downtown in a way that encourages more people to linger downtown. You get more people there, more eyes on the street, and it can also include the addition of elements like lighting and plantings that also add to the ambiance of downtown. I'm sorry, I lost my notes there. Okay, so the code right now includes stipulations on where, okay, so what we would be doing here is updating this section to include parklet, street cafes, and sidewalk cafes, and then outlining design standards for each type. Our approach is a graphic-based code, and the idea here is that rather than requiring a separate guide for people to understand how to use the code, there would be kind of diagrammatic graphics, and I'll show you some in this presentation, that help people really understand easily what the code means. And so it'll be very easy to use. And while the code is focused on downtown, it does have allowances for some of these implementations outside of downtown. But looking at downtown, looking at where these things would be happening. So if you are a business that has a sidewalk that is 12 feet or wider, then you would be eligible to apply for a sidewalk cafe. Essentially, your sidewalk would be large enough that you could allow for 6 feet of pedestrian travel and still have room for cafe seating. And then if you are on a street that has a sidewalk that is less than 12 feet, you'd be eligible for the use of a parking space for a street cafe. Essentially, you don't have as much sidewalk space, so it makes more sense for you to be using the parking spots. During COVID restrictions, some businesses in Pasco created sidewalk cafes and street cafes, and we want those to be able to continue to exist. The code will look slightly different. There'll be slightly different design restrictions for sidewalk cafes and street cafes that are outside of downtown. For example, if you look at this picture, you can see that the street cafe, the sidewalk cafe, sorry, is blocking the sidewalk. And in some cases where the sidewalk is ending and it's not actually really used for pedestrian travel, that could be allowed. But situations like this, they might end up having to update. I can't tell exactly how wide that is, but they would need to make sure that they are aligned with ADA restrictions, of course. And so some of this could include the city helping these businesses to make sure that they are up to code and compliant so that they can continue to offer this outdoor seating to their customers. So like I said, we want to include graphics in the code, and the way it's currently drafted includes graphics like this that show, for example, the 6 feet minimum of pedestrian clearance that you need. It includes guidelines for things like fences, where you need a 42-inch fence if you're serving alcohol, unless you get permission from the state liquor board. We would also be issuing cafe markers, which would delineate the extent of a cafe and also contribute to placemaking downtown, because they would be specially designed and then could become this recognizable aspect of downtown. And so for the process, it would be an application where they would submit a site plan. It could be simple, hand-drawn, that would show the proposed extents of the sidewalk cafe, and then any elements they want to include, like heat lamps, fencing, etc. And then after their insurance is verified and they pay their permit fee, they would be issued sidewalk cafe markers. The process for street cafes would be similar, but a little bit more involved, because there could be built structures such as here picture there's a platform, or there could be overhead structures as well. So those would undergo some additional design review. The way the code's currently written, they'd be allowed year round, because Pasco doesn't have to use snow plows regularly, or maybe at all. They wouldn't need to like pack them in at the end of a season. They could be out there year round, but required to secure the furniture at the end of the night, make sure everything's all neat and tidy. And again, planters, movable seating, built-in seating, and lighting are all encouraged. And so with the street cafe application, there'd be just this additional review that could be sending to the fire marshal if they're going to have heat lamps. That could be review of construction documents if there's going to be built elements. That would be initiated through in the Community and Economic Development Department, and then they would send it out to the appropriate parties. We are still in draft phase, and so some of the things that we've been considering are what the noticing requirements would look like. That might be beneficial if a street cafe would take up more than 2 parking spots, or if it would surpass the extents of a building frontage. Some cities do a 10-day noticing period, which could be apt in this case. There's also a little bit of potential to offer pre-approved site plans and details that would help applicants that way, and it would also help the city. They wouldn't have to be scratching their heads every time wondering if everything was up to code. There could just be pre-approved plans that applicants could use. And there's also the potential for connection and collaboration with local makers and designers. There could be connection with metal workers who could provide materials that maybe reflect what's currently in Peanuts Park, the sort of cut paper aesthetic. There could be collaboration with local makers that help to design these structures, because part of the idea is really to reflect local Pasco culture. So we looked at several cities in Washington as precedents, looked at their code and what they're doing. We know Walla Walla has a lot of sidewalk cafes and street cafes right now. Their code language is fairly open-ended. They don't have many design standards written within their code. They instead rely on a site plan review committee and city engineer for guidance. They do provide one standard plan for sidewalk cafes that includes a railing, anchor detail, and a few other specifications. Yakima is similar. It's a very straightforward application. You essentially write the city administrator and with a description of your business and your plans. The code does not include any design guidelines. And then Ellensburg recently updated their code to add more design guidelines. They specify certain materials and colors that are allowed to be used. They also have a 10-day noticing requirement, essentially that you have to, alert the public that the project is proposed, and then they can weigh in and comment. Our goal is to get someplace kind of in the middle of this. We want to have design standards. We want to make sure that everything's done safely and that it's ADA compliant, but we also don't want it to be prohibitive. We want to ease the burden on the city by having the code really clear so people know exactly what is allowed. And so looking again at some of the ways that we're depicting this code, showing that there'd be a 20-foot minimum length. That's if it's a parallel parking spot, that's basically the size of one parking spot. You'd be allowed to do a diagonal spot or a 90-degree space as well, up to 3 of those. In general, the idea would be that it wouldn't extend past the building frontage, though I realize I need to edit this drawing, so that is what that's depicting. And then there's things in the code such as buffers from adjacent parking spaces and from the travel lane, and kind of all depicted within these graphics. There'd also be requirements for fencing, a 30-inch fence on 3 sides of the parklet or street cafe, 42 inches if alcohol is served, and then allowing for street cafes that are at street grade, as then they don't need a platform that meets the curb grade, but they would need an ADA compliant ramp. And then kind of switching gears into mobile vending. I can pause for questions if people have anything that they want to bring up at this point.
Does any of the council members, Councilman Perales?
Appreciate it. No, I just had a few questions about just the process, and I mean, obviously, it looks like we're still early. I'd rather see this get done. I mean, downtown businesses are doing a little bit of this already, but I would just still like to see it more broadly used, and that businesses in downtown know that they can do that. But this could also obviously be done across the city. I think the thing I was concerned about was just if we're the design standards and them just being, you can only use certain colors and stuff like that. I don't want it to be too onerous. It should be a little bit more broad, a little bit more open. So if staff could shed some light on that, or if not, the consultant can shed some light on that. Are we still in the early stages of what the design standards and colors would be?
I can take that on, and you're correct, Councilman. I think one of the things that we really wanted to emphasize with this intent was if the idea is to encourage opportunities for use of it, then we didn't want to regulate it to the point that made it burdensome. And so I think what you'll see are regulations that address some of the life and safety issues. That's why you saw some of the specifics related to buffers next to travel lanes and existing on-street parking spaces, et cetera, and less so much about specific pallets, because that might change based on what the business is serving or what they're selling. And I don't know if we want to get involved too detailed with that level of regulation. I think the idea is let's see what we can allow that is both easy to facilitate and administer and easy for an applicant to go through the process itself.
All right, well, thank you. And I can say from my own experience going down to Walla Walla, I was kind of shocked that they had so many of the street cafes so quickly from the last time I was there. Is there, I don't know whether it's you yourself or the advisor, but is there like a mechanism where, like, say a restaurant can go and did they get grants? How did Walla Walla do so many so quickly? Do we have an idea on that as far as how, was it like a city kind of sponsor thing, or was it each restaurant paid for their own, and could you get any kind of clarification or any idea on that?
Yeah, well, we did find out that the city did provide one standard plan set, which can help offset some of the cost. That was the case in Walla Walla. The one difficulty with providing a prescriptive plan set, so a set of drawings, is that anytime the context changes, the set of drawings needs to change as well. I can't speak to what's led to sort of the dramatic increase in use in Walla Walla. Outside of they're popular because of the businesses that have been there for quite some time, and it's another opportunity to, quite frankly, expand the customer base when you have more seats.
Okay. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. And if there was a follow-up, I'd appreciate that as well. And, Councilman Grimm there. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem, and thank you, Director Gonzalez. I really appreciate, one of my notes here was keep regulation to a minimum. So I really appreciate you going forward with that and, trying to keep in mind, keeping at a minimum things that, would be prohibitive or hoops that people would think would be too much to want to jump through, other than those life and kind of safety issues you brought up. And you guys, I'll be honest with you, I love this idea. We have a chance here in Pasco. Pasco was the very first city in the entire Pacific Northwest to become majority Hispanic. This is a real opportunity to celebrate that culture and to do something that's really, not going to be found in other areas of the Tri-Cities. And so this would be, really, really good for us. But at the same time, I think, we have other issues downtown of vagrancy, panhandling, and other things like that. And I appreciate Chief Roski talking earlier with what Councilwoman Barajas brought up about his quick response. But I think, it's one part to build this and to go after this plan, but it does kind of need to be multifaceted where, we look at, areas of enforcement where maybe the state legislature and courts have left us some wiggle room. And at the same time, it's a catch-22. I realize you build some of this and it does tend to make some of those issues go away when you have more people, but yet you have to have more people to do that. And so, this is a good step in the right direction, but I think, we just really need to look at our whole downtown from more of a holistic approach and everything. So anyways, thank you, Mayor.
Well, thank you. And Councilwoman Barajas. Councilwoman.
Yes, thank you.
That's what
I thought I heard Councilman.
No, I didn't say that.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. We did see this in the past, so I appreciate that we're addressing it again with more information. I appreciate that. Before I say I'm in support, I do want to share that we've been asking for information in comparison to other cities, and Walla Walla is on here. I did travel to San Francisco, where I saw a lot of the what is shown on here. Temporary setups on the street. Traffic was diverted for those certain areas. And there are certain areas where there was no traffic, so it fit just fine. I was also in Salem, Massachusetts, where again, park lights or temporary installments on the streets worked really well. I am in support of this. We have been in support of this. Previous council has been in support of this. My concern, though, is that there continues to be empty buildings, empty storefronts. Is there any program, incentive, push to help these empty buildings be filled up? There's also the issue about those businesses that have certain hours, certain days. For example, if there's a quinceañera, then there's, this businesses that are in corners or in certain specific areas that open up only for that one time and then remain closed, and it makes it look like an empty downtown for those neighborhoods. So is there some type of, I wouldn't say control, maybe mechanism, incentive, is there something going on that we can help these businesses open up, maybe stay open, or something?
I would say that looking at incentives and what to do about vacant storefronts and buildings in distress is a little bit outside of the scope of this effort. But there is a relationship in the sense that providing more opportunities for businesses already in place or businesses that choose to locate or establish themselves in Pasco or particularly in downtown, if there's more opportunities for them to provide goods, whether that's selling a merchandise or a product like food, it allows them another opportunity to be successful. One thing that we begin to take a look at is some of the visitor data for residents and travelers when they're visiting things like the farmers market and some of our events. And what we begin to find in some preliminary reporting is that there's a significant amount of visitors that leave our farmers market that leave the downtown to go eat elsewhere. And so we certainly have plenty of talent in culinary talent in Pasco to support those visitors, providing more opportunities for them to be in downtown. And I think this is one opportunity to do so. Might expand opportunities for folks to look into locating in one of those businesses or in these storefronts. But with respect to incentives, we can take a look at that, but probably a little bit outside of the scope of the regulatory revisions that are necessary to allow for it in the first place.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
Just real quick follow-up comment. I know Kennewick has that now, the hub, and then further down on Clearwater by the close to the Columbia, there's another little hub that started up out there. I'm not sure what slide number it is, 28 on my end. The mobile vending in Pasco. I know this was addressed at one point in the past. Will this allow or help those food trucks that want to come to Pasco and set up a mini hub?
It absolutely, in fact, that's been one of the key points, is to make sure we don't shut ourselves out of an opportunity that is in place in other communities, both across the river and elsewhere. So, yes.
Thank you. Thank you for that. No further questions.
All right, thanks. Thank you. And Councilman Perales was first, so we'll.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll keep it brief so we can keep on going. I was just going to I wasn't going to speak to it, but I've actually done during my day job, a lot of inspections and other consultation in Walla Walla, in downtown. I remember being on that street. I actually did a business right there, seismic retrofit. I mean, it really just comes down to, we're doing it now. It's just a concerted effort to update the codes. And then when you do that, they start coming. I've done so many buildings in downtown. I remember at one point you were able to drive right through that picture, and then now you can't. So it's just things like, eventually once we start seeing more business downtown, maybe we shut down kind of where Clark goes to Lewis, and then you have to park in certain places and walk. I mean, that's essentially what you have to do here now. There's, once they started doing that and developing the streetscape and stuff like that, I mean, I saw people come from all sorts of places, and I remember there was an empty business. It was an old Ford dealership. They converted that to a restaurant and a winery. So, I mean, you'd be amazed when people start, when we start updating these codes, the businesses that will come. But, I think we're getting there, and I like the openness of the conversation and the codes today, and I'm really excited to see what's going to happen. But that's kind of where that comes from. I mean, Walla Walla didn't happen overnight. I mean, I've been going down there for what I do for 17 years, and it's been year after year a concerted effort. And so I think if we, build it, they'll start coming.
Yeah, exactly. Well, thank you, Councilman. Councilwoman Blasdale, what do you have to say?
Question. So I guess the ordinance is now, is there a reason why it's segregated only to downtown? Is it, especially with the mobile vending? Because I know there's at least two that I can think of that have, hot dog carts, from, I want to say that's 9th and on Court Street, and then another one on, I want to say 17th, in Court Street, 20th and Court.
Yeah,
there's a couple different ones. I guess why is downtown prohibited, but it's okay to do it in other places?
Yeah, I can't speak as to the delineation of the current regulations, but what I can share is on the very last slide of the presentation, we do have a table of indicating of street cafes, parklets, mobile vending, who those apply to, where they apply to, where they're applicable, basically where they're allowed, and sort of the hours of operation. We just haven't reached that part of the presentation.
Okay, so you're not done with your presentation?
No.
Okay.
All right, well, let's keep moving along there.
Yeah, apologies for the confusion, but thank you for the questions and comments. And so this is very much in draft, and so we're really appreciative of your feedback. And just to clarify, as it's written right now, there aren't any regulations for color or materials. We were kind of looking at a few examples and thinking about how we could, what we wanted to take from those. And like Jacob was saying, we're really focusing on how the code can just make sure everything is done safely. And so then now getting into mobile vending, as I'm sure all of you know, many successful public spaces include itinerant vendors. It's a way to showcase local foods and support small businesses without a brick and mortar location. We think this should be considered an asset rather than a source of competition with existing downtown businesses. And so we really want to encourage more of this to happen downtown. We want to update the definitions to support the goals of the downtown plan. Right now, the code is written so that there's a difference between a mobile vendor, a stationary vendor. It depends on whether they're in public space or in private space. The way that we have written the draft code, it's just you're a mobile vendor and you need a mobile vending license to do that in Pasco. And then if you want to vend in public space, then you get a public space permit. And we're really focused on reducing restrictions and barriers while still keeping everything, safe and up to code. One of the reasons this code is currently so restrictive is that mobile vendors can't be within 300 feet of any restaurant, cafe, or eating establishment. As you can imagine, this prohibits them from being in a lot of places downtown. Just as we allow one restaurant to neighbor another, we can also allow a food truck to be, within the vicinity of someone else making and selling food. Right now, the code prohibits vending at night, and as we are really trying to increase safety and bring more people downtown, we want to allow vendors to operate at night. We also want to allow for some vending in parks. Right now, you can only do that via a concession contract, which for places like Peanuts Park, it doesn't have concessions. It makes sense to allow vendors to be in those parks, and there's a few ways that can be regulated. Downtown has Pasco Specialty Kitchen, which is going to be a huge asset to our mobile vendors. Someone was mentioning barriers to mobile vendors, and I've done a lot of research into the Benton County Health Department code, so trying to get a sense of once a mobile vendor is coming to the city and wanting to get a permit to vend in the city, what have they already gone through with the health department? What are those barriers? And one thing is that food trucks, they have to have access to a commissary kitchen. So Pasco Specialty Kitchen is really going to be an asset to this program. And there's a potential future where there's the need for even more commissary kitchens to support mobile vendors. So we looked at precedents for mobile vending code as well. Kennewick's code is a bit more skewed towards vending in private spaces on private property. They do allow vendors in the right of way, but vendors in the right of way must move every hour. So it's prohibitive in that way. They also have different zoning restrictions for food carts versus food trucks. And then looking at Seattle, the way that mobile vendors are permitted is that you essentially, the dots on the map represent sites that are permitted for vending. And so if you're a mobile vendor, you can basically apply for a time slot within these pre-approved sites, or you can submit an application for a new vending site. And so this is a lot of work for the city, of course, because they're maintaining this map and it requires them to, be approving these location applications. So it's not necessarily, I think, what is a perfect strategy for Pasco. It does allow them a lot of specificity for where they want vending to happen. So that is a positive aspect of the way their program runs. For mobile vending in Pasco, there's an option of creating a map of approved vending sites as a starting point, or of allowing right-of-way vending with some time restrictions if people feel that is necessary. There's also the option of different allowances for food trucks versus food carts, which have different distinctions within the Benton County Health Code. And within parks, so we want to encourage vending in parks by setting up a permit process rather than requiring a concession contract. The goal is to activate public space and to showcase local food and products. So that is also beneficial within park spaces. The city could designate specific parking spots adjacent to parks or within paved parks such as Peanuts Park. They could have specific areas and time slots where food carts or food trucks could vend. And just kind of reiterating the goals of the program, having more eyes on the street, more opportunities to showcase art and culture, more fun for people visiting downtown, and more business for downtown restaurants and cafes. Our next steps are to solicit feedback from restaurants, from mobile vendors. We really want to make sure this code works for them, and so they can test it and tell us, is this prohibitive? Would this work for you? We want to incorporate their feedback as well as all of your feedback into the next iteration of code. And then we would, from then, finalize permit applications, design cafe markers, and then produce any other materials that are necessary. Here's the slide that Jacob was talking about that summarizes it. So who can use these programs? Where can these be done, and when are they allowed? And obviously, and this is a draft, this is all still up for discussion, but just to kind of reiterate where we're at right now and how we're envisioning this program right now. So I will end there and take any further questions that you all have.
All right, well, thank you for the presentation. I do appreciate it. I did have a question. Since I got the mic, I get to ask questions first if I want. I did have my question was, are we going to, when we do like the taco trucks and the different, changing the code and changing how it's worded, is it all going to be, obviously, is it going to be also in Spanish? I know there's times where I've dealt with the taco truck across the street from where I work, and they seem to have difficulty knowing different things. So can you give me an idea? I mean, are we going to make it really easy for the taco trucks, the different mobile vendors, where they can actually utilize it and understand it very clearly without having to seek help?
Yeah, I know we've tried to emphasize it in the presentation, but it really has been the intent of working with our consultant team. It really comes from the work that was conducted as part of the downtown plan, which is thinking of better communication processes and methods, including taking a look at our own regulations and the way they're worded so that they don't read so regulatory in nature. But, what takes time, unfortunately, is drafting a set of new regulations that has the best of intent, then having to draft the user's guide. So what if we were to just draft the regulations as if it was the user guide itself and accomplishing the requirements of municipal requirements? So putting things in different languages, in language that is easy to both facilitate and apply from the city staff perspective and from an applicant's perspective, both and new or experienced in the business world is certainly one of the, I think, driving missions of this effort in particular, more than others in the past, I think.
Okay, well, I appreciate that. Again, anything we could do to get more food trucks and everything in the downtown, and obviously through City of Pasco, just sometimes it frustrates me going to Kennewick and you see all these food trucks, and I'm thinking, why isn't here? Why don't we have this? And but yeah, anything the staff could do to facilitate this, move it forward, I would appreciate it. And now I'll open up to other councilmen or women. So go with Councilwoman Blasdale.
Okay, I just have, I guess, a comment on the mobile vending. When I think of mobile vending, I think of carts or peddler license, meaning someone that's pushing a cart, selling ice cream or something like that. Not necessarily a food truck, because they're stationary. The other thing is, I don't think being a business owner, putting a limit on 4 hours a day for them being able to do business is cost effective for anyone. I think if you allow them to do business in our city, they would have they would need to have a regular work schedule, not just like 4 hours is not enough for them to recoup their money, especially when you have city permits, you have the health department fees, you have the cost of product. So I think that needs to be taken into consideration.
Absolutely, yeah. Apologies for the confusion. That's meant to mean 4 hours in one location, but it also isn't necessarily what we have decided to move forward with whatsoever. So yeah, that is absolutely true.
All right, well, thank you. And, okay, I didn't know if you were asking any more questions. So, next was, Councilman, Perales.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, no, this has definitely been a topic I've talked a lot about. So like this, I'm gonna show a picture. I mean, this is, I don't know where the camera is at, if anyone can see it, but this is a picture from Mr. Moon from Tumbleweeds. He posted this during the summertime. He was trying to get, he has a mobile food truck. And again, I just felt like these things were so onerous, and a lot of these sentences start with no, no, no. I think if we're gonna be looking into the code, I think we should be looking at this this code. This is our code, but looking at it line by item and see if it really fits, and look at the context about a lot of these. I mean, a lot of these have to do with being by a school. Obviously, sure, you'd have to get authorization by the school, and we can probably work with the Pasco School District. But like everyone else up here is saying, we need to be more open to business, especially now. I mean, mobile food truck is a really, I mean, there's businesses around the Tri-Cities now that are actually creating food trucks that are more mobile. I remember a lot of food trucks for a long time, they would be really stationary because they got moved there and then they couldn't move anymore. But I mean, now people are buying, $100,000 food trucks that are able to be mobile and move around. And so I think we really need to kind of capture that, like other council members have said, we don't even have a food truck hub here yet. I mean, Richland has this couple, Kennewick has two. Like, I feel like sometimes we're behind the game, and so that's what I would like to see. From I guess on that slide it said they want to seek information and comments from council. For me, I feel like we need to go through our code and look through if this is really even do we really need some of this stuff in there, and be a little bit more flexible. And that also would necessitate us working with the Bendon County Health. I remember years ago we stopped doing Food Truck Friday because vendors said it was just too onerous to move over there, but also the fees from the Benton Health District were increasing, so they didn't. And so I know I see people shaking their heads over there, but it's okay. Look, I can name 10 vendors right now who told me it's taken them months. Don't get me wrong, there's two sides to the story, but months. I mean, even Mr. Moon, he got his licenses in other cities within like a couple days, and it was weeks for him. So reach out to him. I don't think he's hard to find, but I think we need to be, again, more flexible business, be open to constructive criticism, so that we can see more businesses utilize this type of stuff, because we want them to spend money in Pasco and not other places. Thank you.
Thank you for that comment. And I thought we had Councilman Grimm on there, but no, I guess we're good. And did we have anything from Mayor Serrano?
Yeah, I think where Councilman Perales started was a pretty salient point, which is we really need to thumb through this code before we adopt it and ensure that it's right sized to the businesses that we're seeking to attract or presently have in Pasco that we could service. I think, also making sure that as we time things, we are obviously one of the very critical elements of the downtown corridor is traffic, making sure that we're, one of the comments that we made early on was ensuring that, if we are to use some of those, like, I can't remember if they're called the parklet style ones where they take up a portion of the parking spaces, that we do have an adequate parking inventory. So I just want to ensure that, what we're doing is a holistic approach, that it benefits the entirety of downtown. And if that means losing parking inventory and having it placed elsewhere, so be it, if that's the right solution. I just want to ensure that, again, that we've fully vetted these issues, making sure that the vendors are welcome, making sure, again, that the parking's adequate, making sure that, obviously making sure we have signage at some point to be clear on this. and what we're offering is, as I guess to call them services, maybe the best opportunity. So I think as long as we got the right communications and those elements, it's certainly something that could hopefully make our downtown more vibrant. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Mayor Serrano. And I was reminded about basically the previous council had given like ARPA funds for outdoor seating. Do we have any, was there still funds available, or do we have any clarification on that? Somebody had asked me that question.
I believe we do have funds available. We have our Assistant City Manager, Angela Bashan, online, so she would have more details.
Okay.
Oh, sorry about that. My microphone kept deleting or hiding itself. So we do have funds. We are looking at doing Director Rice and Director Gonzalez have been talking with Framework also about putting in a parklet in front of PSK as well. I can get some more information in regards to where we're at with those funds a little bit later this week.
Okay, well, that would be appreciated, and I'll make sure the individual that asked me the question, I'll forward it to him. So thank you. If there's not any other questions, I think we'll move on to the next item here. And it looks like we got a lot of Maria Sarah coming up. I don't know how quickly this could be, but we are coming up to the 9 o'clock hour, and so please take it away. And if anybody needs a break, please let me know. Is this going to be somewhat quick, or what are you thinking? Just out of curiosity.
We will make it as quick as we can.
Okay, well, I
3
appreciate it.
highlights
Well,
only.
all right, well, thank you. So with that, we are going to go to item E, resolution supplement number 1 to PSA with HDR Incorporated for Sylvester Street safety improvements. So Maria Sarah, please take it away.
Okay, so this is regarding the Sylvester Street Safety Improvements Project. We talked about this project recently. It was just awarded for construction. HDR Engineering is the engineer of record for that project. We had selected them with a set of criteria that included construction management experience. And I'm gonna go and hit the highlights only. Okay, so I'm gonna go fast. So we had a contract with them, a professional services agreement for design. There are funds remaining in that agreement, but we would like to amend that agreement to be able to reallocate some of those remaining funds for construction support, or actually construction management, full construction management for this project. Our staffing levels right now and the amount of projects we have do not allow us to do construction management to the level that the funding sources would require. We have both state and federal funds in this project, and it is a very long corridor that we'll be working on. So with a single inspector, it's really hard to be tracking everything that is happening across the corridor. So with that, the current request, I'm just gonna keep on moving here. Our current request is to amend the contract to reallocate some of the existing funds and increase the total professional services agreement for an amount just under $175,000. This amount of services is considered in our project budget, so this would be within the allocated project budget. And with that, we hope to receive your approval next week.
Well, thank you for that. Does any of the council have any questions or any comments? Nope. Love to hear that. Okay, well, we are moving on to item F, resolution approval of economy loan WQC 2024 Pasco 00007 for construction of WWTP Phase 2 improvements.
And for this item, we're actually, I'm going to introduce our senior engineer, Brittany Whitfield, and she will give us the highlights of this item and the next one, which are very similar.
Well, thank you for that.
Thank you, council member. Pro Tem, Mayor Pro Tem, and council members. I don't remember who's up here right now.
All right, appreciate it.
Many apologies. Tonight, as Interim Director Sarah mentioned, we have 2 items really related to the
water quality combined funding program through the State Department of Ecology. So I do have two items to discuss, very similar in nature. This first one is specific to wastewater treatment phase 2, and I'll just call that our municipal treatment plant. Thank you for advancing the slide. And just to save some time, I will try to just hit the high points here too. The loan terms for this first agreement that we're seeking approval for. I want to note a correction that was in the agenda packet. The total award was incorrect in the presentation slides. I just wanted to note that correction here. Total award that we're seeking approval for with this agreement is the 26.5 million, roughly, rough order of magnitude there. Both loans have a 20-year term, 1.2% interest rate. These are all low interest loans through the State Department of Ecology. Just some of the items in the loan scope is outlined here. I won't hit all of them. We have loan administration, which includes some of the reporting, the quarterly reporting we have with Ecology, closeout, reimbursements. This fully funds the construction of all of phase 2 for the municipal wastewater treatment plant expansion improvements. That's phase 2A and 2B, which we'll kind of hit in the next slides. I'll go into more detail for that. We have full construction management and on-site inspection services. They're being performed by a third party, one of our consulting firms. And then since this is through the state revolving fund, the Clean Water Act, the Federal Clean Water Act State Revolving Fund, there are some federal requirements we need to adhere to for this funding, which is the prevailing wage, or the Davis-Bacon wage compliance and the certified payroll certification. And then we do have a line item in this agreement where Ecology does review all of our major change orders and authorizes them and approves them. And if we could hit the next slide, please. And then this is an outline of where all the phase plant improvements are occurring. And this, it's hard to see on this map, I apologize. It's basically north of Ainsworth Avenue, east of Gray. And we also, phase 1 occurred a little earlier last year. July of 2021 is when it started. But it started all the plant improvements needed to meet some of our municipal treatment requirements and some of the upcoming the discharge permit requirements needed to meet to do some of those phased improvements at the plant. All three phases of the plant improvements, including the outfall replacement, they all are being funded or have been funded by Ecology loans. And you can see some of the milestones. I'll hit some of the high points. Phase 1, we're really doing more of the primary and secondary treatment, which some of that construction is mainly done. It should be done later this year, probably mid-year. Phase 2 really upsizes the outfall to account for some of the increased capacity of this plant. And Phase 2B really hits some of the in-water work for the outfall, the new 42-inch outfall. Phase 2A did more of the underground installation of that, the new outfall and diffuser system. And then we have some final step treatment, the UV disinfection improvements are occurring as well on Phase 2B. If you hit the next slide here. And then these are some construction progress photos of Phase 2B outfall. This is when we were doing the outfall deployment, the sinking of the pipe, the in-water work window. And you can see in the picture on the right is after we had sunk the pipe into the pipe trench with the anchors. And then what will end up happening at the end of this new 42-inch pipeline will be backfilled with native ecology-approved fish mix to restore the riverbed, the Columbia riverbed. And I know that was a lot of information, and I just wanted to hit the high points of this really quick. And that concludes this presentation for this ecology loan. So if you have any questions, we'd be happy to answer.
Does anybody have any questions on this? Seeing none, let's keep going.
All right. Again, I have another ecology loan agreement. This next one is for the water reuse facility, which is what ecology really typically calls our industrial treatment loan. But I'll just say it's the reuse for phase 2. And again, we have another 20-year term, 1.2% interest rate. This loan here of award amount is 34.9 mil. And it also has some of the same terms as the other loan, where we have the fully funded construction, CM services, third-party inspection, and then we have some of the loan administration requirements with ecology. Project location, this is over with the process reuse, which is east of State Route 395 in the north of the city limits, north of East Foster Wells Road. Excuse me. And then you'll see the loan in question really covers all the area in red here where the new winter storage ponds are going to be installed. And we'll hit the next slide. Here's a close-up. Right side is really last month construction, where we are starting some of the excavation and grading for the phase 2 site, where the 3 new ponds in that left figure there, where we have the 3 new ponds to accommodate some of the future growth in the area with the agricultural processors, including Dairy Gold. And I think that rendering, yes, thank you. And this is what the existing storage ponds look like out there at the reuse facility. As you can see, we do need more. They'll look similar to this, but we'll need more of the surplus capacity to handle these future anticipated flows. And with that, I know that was also a quick one, I apologize, but if you have any questions, we'd be happy to answer.
Looks like we have a question from Councilman Grimm.
Thank you. Thank you for your presentation. Just one is, Councilmember Perales and I were going through these water rights subcommittee. Some of the feedback we did hear was from odors out there, at the storage ponds. And is there anything we're doing to try to mitigate that, or anything we can do, or?
I may have to bounce this one off of
That's okay. Yeah, we don't mind.
Sarah. Yeah, I'm not as
There's
involved.
lots of smart people in this room. Thank you.
If you don't mind, if we have any mitigating efforts for that, I'd appreciate it.
Yes, so the city has been working on eliminating some of the odor. The final solution will come when phase 3 is complete and biological treatment is occurring to flows that come from processors and are stored in the ponds after full treatment. But in the past, when we had concerns with odor, was typically based on the long storage of only pre-treated wastewater that had a lot of BOD in it, was sitting in those ponds. As winter occurred, all that BOD was sedimenting, right? Going down into the flow, and eventually when the temperature changed, that would what we typically call turn, and so all that BOD will then kind of float to the top, and that's where the most of the odor was coming from, along with any solid storage, which for several years we had to store some of the sedimented BOD and sand, and that was just kept in a pond, and that was just generating additional odor. So our operation has been adjusted to try to minimize the amount of solids that were kept on site, and we also built some drying beds out in the fields where we land apply, so that we could dry that sludge, that is what we were removing from our sedimentation basin, and dispose of it via transport to some permitted locations.
Okay, and so really this is just a problem for a month or two a year, right? Because we're storing water over the winter. The whole purpose of this, because we can't irrigate it, no one's irrigating in the winter. So is it just in that springtime, right when the temperature is starting to rise, that we really get this problem?
From the ponds was really that time period, but it is true that when we were storing solids in our facility, the solids were there for several years. So in that case, it was more of a constant nuisance. It kind of depends on how hot it gets and which way the wind blows. Now, onward, because we will have phase 3 completed and there will be biological treatment, there will be no or limited BOD remaining in that effluent, which is what we're going to store, then we do not anticipate having an odor issue onward.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, and I will say that you missed out on years ago. We had a guy come in with a jar, and he pushed it to our nose so we could smell the sludge, and boy, it was some nasty stuff. And even the times I went out there, it was hard to breathe. It was so strong. So I do appreciate and commend the activities that the city is doing to mitigate the smell. It's nice not having people come in with the jars and telling you to sniff it. So thank you. And we have Councilman Perales again.
Thank you, Mayor. I was just going to tell Councilmember Grimm, you'll find out on Wednesday how bad it is.
All right, so with I guess we got Councilwoman.
I was just going to piggyback on your comment in regards to the few years ago that we did have someone bring in jars. It was smellier, and under Director Worley's direction, and with Maria Serra's assistance, that project has mitigated the smell tremendously. To where, well, yes, we do hear it from people, but we don't have people coming in anymore with the jars of water. So thank you again for all the work in making sure we don't have that hazard out there. Yeah.
Thank you for the villains out there, because really bad smells are my kryptonite. So I really appreciate that. Thank you.
All right, with no other questions, we're moving on to item H, resolution ramification of acquisition of USBR parcel number 113140039. And Maria Sarah, why don't you take it away there?
This will be me.
Okay.
But we'll go through it fast. Okay, so if you remember, in summer of last year, we brought to you an item for approval for purchase of 3 pieces of land that USBR, so United States Bureau of Reclamation, own nearby PWRF. So it's in theme with the previous presentation. And those are shown in yellow in this slide. Along with that purchase, which occurred in the summer of 2023, we anticipated the purchase of a bigger, new parcel, which is now shown in green in this slide and with identification in red, that we were intending to buy and doing all the work associated with environmental clearance for USBR to be able to, as they call it, dispose of that piece of land for sale to the city. But we did not have the documentation available to us. At the time the documentation became available, it was in the winter, this last winter, in December of 2023, and the city moved forward with the purchase. It was identified after the purchase had been done that actually the limit for land purchase associated to capital projects, which this is tied to the phase 2 project, is limited to $150,000, and through approval within staff, we had surpassed our limit. This purchase, I'm gonna move on. This purchase was for $240,000, and although it had been disclosed, we had not actually asked for permission or approval at the time that we brought the first 3 parcels. So this item is really to request the ratification of the action taken for the purchase of this land. This parcel specifically is going to be used for disposal of some of the excavation material that we have from the mass excavation we are doing for the creation of those ponds. And I think it is worth mentioning that all parcels that we have acquired from USBR have been valued at $1,500 per acre, which is a very reasonable price for prime farmland, which in this case does not have irrigation associated with it or irrigation rights associated with it. But for the uses of this specific project and the potential future use for land disposal sites, so that's where we land apply our pre-treated wastewater or processed water. This is a very reasonable price and a great investment for the city for future expansion of land application.
Okay, thank you. Does any councilman or women have any questions on this? No? Okay, well, thank you for that. And moving on to item I, resolution sole source of caustic soda purchase. And believe it or not, we got Maria Sarah.
It's Public Works Night. And for this item, I am going to introduce Puna Clark. Again, you've met her before. She's our other senior engineer in our team, and she will be presenting this item to you.
Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem and council members. Thank you. So for the sole source for the caustic soda purchase and delivery for the wastewater treatment plant located near Ainsworth off of Gray Avenue. Here shown on the screen is a picture of the wastewater treatment plant. So the city has a caustic soda tank and pad that's existing, and currently the city is going to replace that tank because it is failing, but the city doesn't own the tank. It is owned by North Star Chemical, and we are here to request a sole source because caustic soda, which is also known as sodium hydroxide 50% solution, is used by the city for pH treatment at the wastewater treatment plant. We need to purchase the product directly from North Star. We generally purchase about 1,200,000 pounds per year of that product. And our agreement, we would likely purchase a minimum of 48,000 pounds. We purchase by price, and the current price is about 23 cents per pound. And as of note, last year in 2023, we purchased about $421,000 worth of caustic soda. Are there any questions?
We got Councilman Grimm.
Yeah, thank you for that. Just when we received this on Friday, of all the things that caught my attention was caustic soda. What in the world? And maybe this is more of a question for Interim Director Sarah, but I guess, part of it, maybe it's late and we don't have to flesh this all out tonight, but part of it wonders just the processing of this, where we get it where it comes from, and ultimately, what would happen if we couldn't get this? I mean, would we just start, backing up? I'm not suggesting we store, a couple million pounds somewhere, but this seems like a really important commodity to our wastewater treatment, and if something happened to it, we would be, well, there's a phrase for that, but yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, we only have one tank that we store it in, actually.
Mm-hmm. So. All right. Well, thank you for that enlightening comment. Anybody else have any comments? We have Councilwoman Rojas.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Quick question. You mentioned that the tank itself is not property of City of Pasco?
True.
So do we pay any monthly, annual fee on that? No. And we have it for as long as we continue purchasing the soda for that tank?
Yes.
If we went with a different vendor, what happens to the tank?
So we don't, they own the tank and we purchase it from them and they deliver the product to us as well. And the reason we are asking for the sole source is because the tank is failing and we are replacing the tank.
Okay.
Yeah, and we have been purchasing it from them for quite some years. And our current agreement is also from them.
Thank you for the clarification. No further questions.
Thank you for that. And it looks like with no other questions, I think we're through it. So thank you for your presentation. And we're moving on to item number 6, miscellaneous council discussion. Was there anything that any of the council would like to talk about, or city staff? We got Richa Siddell, Director Richa Siddell.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem. We do have one miscellaneous item, which will be very, very quick, I promise, that Finance Director Buckley will be presenting.
Thank you for your time tonight. I just wanted to give you a quick update. We've been working for a little over, well, maybe not a little over, almost a year on a joint work between Public Works and Finance for the LID 152, which is the East UGA Sewer LID, issuing debt. And working with our financial team that's external, and just part of that is meeting with a rating agency and giving them a presentation about the city of Pasco, the region, our economy, and our financial status and facts and figures. And so we just last week got that rating agency report back and had the report was very good. They gave us a credit rating of AA2, which indicates to investors that the obligations are judged to be of high quality and subject to very low credit risk. So that in turn helps us sell our bonds and get a low interest rate. So we're very thankful for that. Also, as this is a short-term issuing, we get another rating, which is called a MIG-1, and that also helps market the bonds or the bond anticipation note. That will be the first part. And then when the LID is finished, we'll go issue debt again for long-term debt. But it helps that short-term debt, which is sometimes a little harder to interest buyers in, that the MIG rating was very good too, and will help that short-term debt be sold and benefit the assessments staying low, so or as low as we can keep them. So.
Well, thank you, Director Buckley. I
Thank
do
you.
appreciate that. And I'm assuming with no other things, I can move on to number 7, the executive session. I'm not seeing anything on that one, so thank goodness on that. And I guess with that, we're on number 8, and we're adjournment. So everybody have a good evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good night.